Today I sit down with one of Zimbabwe's most passionate, most fired up, and most effective leaders, Themba Mliswa. Let's delve deep into the mind of the man who was drawn passionately to utter such words as "Chawora Chinuchi." Join me. It's going to be a good one. Good afternoon, Mr. Mlilo.
Good afternoon to you.
Thank you for having us in your lovely place for us to have a serious conversation about some of the things that are happening in our country, to try and hear some of the ideas about how to move our nation forward. And as a person who actually works in the system, we feel like your opinion is one that's very valid in this nation. But if you'll allow me to enjoy a little bit of banter at the start, Chawora Chinuchi. I'm sure you knew that was coming. Is cemented you in internet history forever. But a lot of the times, you know, those kind of moments get lost in the comedy. Could you bring us back to the context of what was actually happening? What drew you to actually utter those words so passionately?
You're the first person who's going to get the correct
right.
The correct way of how it came to be what it is. You know, I was the chairman of the Mines Committee, and a lot had happened, and clearly I said no. You see, I was not chairman. They put somebody as chairman who had bribed them to go to South Africa and so forth. And of course, there was only one thing which I could say: the person who was assuming chairmanship has used the money to get other members of parliament who were poor to support him and so forth. I was seen to be somebody who was attacking the system, exposing people from the ruling party, and it was the ruling party that was in the forefront of this. And being in the forefront of this, clearly,
okay, no, that's fair enough. And so a lot of the times, you know, you have a lot of clips about your fiery moments in Parliament, or maybe not so much. We want to talk about your personal life, but do you have a specific reason or a specific way of determining where you throw that energy? Because it's not always consistent. You know, it's sometimes a lot of people have come hard on you, saying you use your position to settle personal scores. Other people say that you sometimes just want to pick at people for no reason. But where do you choose to put your energy when you want to make sure that your voice is heard and your opinions are noted?
One of the great attributes of leadership is consistency. You can be consistently wrong, but you're consistent. It's okay. Rather than being inconsistent.
Right.
So to me, am I consistent in what I stand for? Am I consistent in what I'm pursuing? Despite you saying, yes, Paul Westwood said you stole a company, that's okay. He can go to court, I can be arrested, you know where to find me. But that does not take me away from the fact of me pushing my agenda for thinking that you're corrupt. And equally, what people don't understand, I do a lot in terms of research. Okay, I just don't attack. The Honorable Mfumira case is one that we can talk about. When I started talking about building the case, people thought I was not going anywhere. But at the end of the day, I kept on saying, no, there is an issue here, and we need to get to the bottom of this. I'm the person who wrote to the president for the forensic audit on NASA to be done, because I knew that a forensic audit is the only way that you can then be able to tell whether one is wrong or one is correct, whether one should be exonerated or they should be implicated. So the forensic audit came out. Robin Villa, I spoke about it, how he had amassed this wealth and how he was busy externalizing money at the time and so forth. But people thought, oh, he's jealous, he's probably using, trying to defend the mother of his child or his wife or his girlfriend at NASA and so forth. But to me, whether I have a wife at NASA, but if things are going wrong at NASA, who says I must not speak out? You see, to me it's about principles, about this nation. I represent people. I've got pensioners in my constituency who are getting $80. When they're sick, I'm the person who's faced with the problems to say, I need to go and get medication. I need to go and see a doctor. So I feel, okay, the burden more than anybody else, because I'm sincere about representing people. I am with the people in my constituency. So to me, whatever you throw at me will not stick, because at the end of the day, I'm also one person who has gone to court over 70 times in this country on allegation of stealing cattle, allegation of doing this, I once was alleged of stealing 3,000 cattle. If you look at it, if I was found guilty, just one, that's 9 years times 3,000 years in jail. So to me, I've equally gone through the mill of understanding that at times the attack on me is because I've tried to challenge the status quo. At that time, I was in ZANU PF. And everybody thought, oh, my uncle Didmas Mtasa, who would protect me. The current president is my brother too, as Minister of Justice, who would protect me. But how come I found myself in prison? Yet people said I've got people who protect me. Then no one protects me, and so forth. I'm able, then exposed Obetimpo for the time, to say, you know what, you're such a great businessman. I was in Parliament. Can you tell us your model of owning a bank, how you made the money? Because I would want to own a bank too, just like you do. So we now need to bring business people who are successful to the fore, to be role models, to tell us how they made the money. Because to me, why would you want to be a minister if God has given you the gift to just build, to have a bank before you're even a minister? How did you acquire that? So if you'd ask yourself, was it better to be a minister or to remain a businessman and have more banks? I would have opted to remain a businessman and more banks, but you only acquired this when you're a minister. How? See? So I was then expelled from ZANU PF at the time. So each time I'm seen to be somebody who wants to expose corruption, then those, because you deal with a cartel, you know, there are names that I can talk about, the forensic audits which are out, and I would not want to tarnish anybody's image without me relating to a written document which is public. The moment that I mention your name, okay, that you're corrupt, it must be in some document of public, whether in the Hanside, in Parliament, or in a forensic audit, which is a public document for everybody to say, yes, X is corrupt, because the forensic audit implicates them. These cartels which have taken over this country in terms of corruption, they're dangerous. They're able on social media to plant people who say, but Mliswa, you did this. I had gone on, the last time I was accused of giving somebody, a young girl, a disease, HIV, and so forth. Then I went to get tested for HIV. I was negative. So if she has HIV and I'm negative, how did I? So there are certain things that you want to kill. The Godad issue. I'm in Parliament, I'm exposing issues. Somebody says, no, I went and asked for a bribe from Godad and so forth. He comes before the Parliamentary Committee of Privileges, says he never. Are you with me? So with time, okay, while you think you are trying to smear campaign me, I'm actually getting more powerful, because people then realize, no. You have an agenda because he wants to expose A, B, C, D, and so forth.
So you're clearly a champion of anti-corruption, and you're clearly someone who is willing to go as far as it takes to be able to get justice. My question to you then is, now that you're not part of the mining committee and your role in Parliament seems to be skewed, what are you actually doing now to ensure that you continue doing that good work? What position are you in now to be able to be effective in your consistency?
I like that, because one thing I'll tell you is that I'm always effective in whatever I do. If you say to me, I sweep, I'll be the best sweeper. If you say to me, I go and hunt, I'll be the best hunter. I'm now a backbencher, and I'm in the most effective backbencher in Parliament. When I was chairman, I believe I was the best chairman. But whatever I do with a passion. Okay, and that's the reason why if you look at in Parliament, members of Parliament was the word backbenchers. So even the issues which were brought up in the Mines Committee, I can still bring them up. In fact, when I'm a backbencher, I then don't have to think of being a chairperson, because when you're a chairperson, you want to behave in a certain way. But when I'm not a chairperson, I'm a backbencher. My job is to go for the ministers. I was with Honorable Nzenza today in Norton. She came to Zipper, a great occasion and so forth. And I jokingly say to Minister, my job is to annoy you. my job, you've got to understand that. I'm paid to be a backbencher. I'm paid to throw things at you. So we will be in Parliament. I'll be trying to get to what I want to get to. We laughed and we says, no, my brother, don't worry, you better work and so forth. So you must understand the role of a backbencher is to get you and if you're not steady, you panic. And the information that we think we're gonna not find, it starts coming out. It leads to more questions. It opens up a debate and questions from other members of Parliament. So I am a master in pursuing, what I'm pursuing, and say, I need to get this information. Minister, you are there. Okay, you have the general manager in your parastatal who has allegations of corruption. What is that person doing? Is it not that you're working with them?
So when you're talking about chasing anti-corruption, we obviously have ZAC. I want to stick with this just for one more question. We have ZAC, the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission. How effective is ZAC? Are they not as limited as the source of the corruption that they're chasing?
Listen, first of all, I've always said this, and this is my argument in Parliament, that you want us parliamentarians to have oversight over the executive. But it's like you sending, okay, a policeman to catch a thief on a bicycle and a thief is in a helicopter. How does that happen? The person who's chasing the thief must be more capacitated to catch the thief. Okay. Members of Parliament, for as long as they're not capacitated, well-resourced, and these are tools of trade, not luxury, okay, will never be able to do what they have to do, because at the end of the day, they're spending more time at the minister's office who we want to question, being given coupons, being given freebies, because he's thinking of his next meal, his next supper. Okay. Instead of him being well-resourced, having a car that he knows is able to get him home, not to have a car that he realized, no, have not serviced it, it's done 5,000. The minister says, come to my office. So the aspect of compromise, we must understand that it's either this country agrees to have poor legislators, but then allow the executive to be more powerful to do what it wants, or to have legislators who are powerful in terms of resource. I call them tools of trade, and be able to put to task the so-called ministers that we hold accountable to. Let people understand the role of a parliamentarian. Oversight over the executive. Representation and making laws. Are you with me? For the benefit of the people at national interest. So when you talk about oversight, how can you have oversight over somebody who has more resources than you? Okay. And you don't. Coming into your question, corruption can be dealt with. Corruption can be dealt with when, as a people, and I'm glad that the current situation in the country has, the electorate has decided to put corruption on the agenda. Even if the government moves on the sanctions narrative, they're saying, no. All these billions which went missing, all these resources, all these deals which were not given as black people are giving to Chinese and so forth, where does sanctions come in? Okay, we're endowed with resource. Okay, the quantity of the resources is out of this world. The gold that we have is said to be 12.4 billion a year. The tobacco that is exported is 1.5 billion a year. So let us calculate, and this is what is accounted for, not what is not accounted for. Okay. So if you talk about 16 billion that you're getting a year, where is it going? The healthcare, how come we don't have good hospitals? How come we are still sending our students, our children on a presidential scholarship to other universities? What is it that these universities have in this country? The University of Zimbabwe is a renowned medical and legal institution in the world in terms of those aspects. So you don't need to send your kids to Rhodes University to do law. The University of Zimbabwe has produced the best lawyers, advocates, the late Tendai Biti, you name it. You can name a whole lot of them who have gone there, who have done well and so forth. But how do we then empower the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission without resources? The will might be there. You go there right now, they're overwhelmed. But when you go to their reception, that's where the investigations are happening. So let's understand, for us to deal with corruption, we must have people of good social standing, people who are not in it for the money, but in it to be able to move the country forward, but at the same time resource the police officers. It's about time we get police officers who are not only coming from Morris Depot, but who've gone to school to study law, because crime has become sophisticated. Okay, you've got, I know of a cop who has a master's in law and an LB, and has got political science. So whatever matter is dealing with, no matter how sophisticated it is, because of the capacity of that person intellectually, they are able to investigate this matter to its conclusion, logical conclusion.
But you didn't quite answer my question. You touched on it, but you didn't quite answer it. The question was, how effective are they? Are they as effective as the source that they are following. So if, for example, if the source was to come to me, ordinary citizen, Kuda Mangwe, you would see my name in the news, you'd see me in court, you'd see me all over the papers, etc. But what happens when it's a big shark? How effective are they then in tackling corruption that comes from there?
This is why in what they did to Honorable Mfumira, it gave confidence to the people, but she's not the only one. There need to be more big sharks. For example, people saying, but why don't you arrest Obed Mpofu? But Zach says to you, where is the evidence? But I said, Zach, if you follow the parliamentary proceedings, there's a company called Zambezi Gas which was given 18,000 hectares. I talk about this because it's in the record, it's in Hansard. Okay, it's in the public, 8,000 hectares. When he was Minister of Mines, he created Makomo Resources and went and took half of that. So is that not abuse of office? I'm actually writing to the chairperson, Justice Matanda Moitokoti. Here is evidence of a minister who encroaches in somebody's land and then creates a company called Makomo Resources. What is that? Are you with me? So to me, they've been saying we don't have evidence. But it's not true that they don't have evidence. So let it not just be a Priska Mfumira issue. How many other big sharks? People are waiting for Obed Mpofu. How did he buy a bank? What was his source of income? He talks about being rich, having a lot of cattle. Do you know, I tried to calculate that with the wealth that he had, the cattle that he would probably have is probably he'd have the entire Zimbabwe national head, 30, 40 million cattle. Okay? So to me, source of income, do we need to then say, okay, here is Mliswa. You have a right to have a lifestyle. I'm driving a Mercedes-Benz, I'm driving a Lamborghini. The law enforcement agents of this country, Zimra, has a right to stop and to say, Honorable Mliswa, thanks a lot. Your car is beautiful, we love it. How did you buy the car? I have a company, this and that. Let's see. Tax. Do you pay tax? Do you declare dividends? How much is it? But they're not prepared to do that. They then say to you, no, give us evidence. What more evidence do you want? We need an anti-corruption unit which is proactive, which is able to protect the people's interests using the laws which are there, where a lifestyle audit can be done. Honorable Minister, you live in Borodale, okay? Your home is 6 acres. How did you make that money? How did you pay for it? Proof of payment, source of income, okay? So to me, the will is for them now. This is the answer. It's for them now to show that they are cut above the rest in that they're prepared to go an extra mile. By not doing that, the normal thing of saying the police have investigated, we are waiting to go to court and so forth. We need a court of corruption which is fast track, where you know you've arrested Mliswa, within 2 weeks a trial must happen and there must be a verdict. You arrest him, the law say he's not going anywhere. Goes to court, there's no point in him going to court because next week he's on trial and we fear that he'll abscond. So what again are we putting to be able to augment and support all these arrests that we're doing, so that we don't give people enough time to be able to. Metbank, for example, the NASA report implicates Netbank as the conduit bank where Honorable Mfumira was getting money. It's well known, it's there in the, but how come the directors of Medbank have not been questioned to say the money which was coming from pensioners was getting into your account, but it was seen then going to buy this house, going to buy this house. Was it meant for that? So if the bank is to exonerate itself, this is the opportunity for them to say, no, we were just carrying out instructions. Okay, we did not divert the money, but it's Mliswa who was telling us to divert the money, but we diverted this money to this account, to this account, to this account. So yes, I ask of this Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Committee to be different in that they have to go an extra mile, be proactive and have a conscience and be sincere about what they're doing, because this is what will turn the economy around of this country, the perception. They've got to win the confidence of the people. In winning the confidence of the people, they've got to go for more big boys who people are alleging, okay, so that they are cleared. Okay, if there's a big name involved, go and investigate and come and tell the people that we've investigated and we've seen nothing. It's good for that person, it's good for you, it's good for the country. We move forward.
I'm glad you're talking about good for the country. I'm glad you're talking about moving forward. One of the great concerns that I personally have, which I think I share with a lot of Zimbabweans in this country, is that we are led by people who are disconnected from our crisis. or from our day-to-day lives. You see interviews with our finance minister where he doesn't even know the price of bread, and yet he's supposed to infect policies that affect our ability to buy that bread. Why is there such a disconnect between our leadership and the citizens?
I'll say this painfully to Zimbabweans. The leadership you have is a reflection of your intellectual capacity and who you are. Who puts those leaders in power? People say that Mugabe overstayed, the late former president. May his soul rest in peace. But when we all wanted him to go, did we all not march? So why were we not marching all these years? So why do you want to blame him to be the problem? Yet when we decided he must go.
Is it as easy as that? Because at times, you know, you've seen what happens when demonstrations are there. People don't feel safe doing that. Zimbabweans often get a lot of slack from other countries for being so passive, but it's because we believe that there should be systems in place, such as Parliament, that should be able to have those fights for us. Why do we need to march in the streets?
But the march is within the constitutional dictates of the country. You have a right to march. You have a right to protest because you cannot be heard at the end of the day and so forth. To me, what I'm saying at the end of the day, how come that famous revolution march, there was no accident, there was no one beaten, there was nothing. I mean, let's go back to that. Go to that picture where people somehow had adrenaline, had energy that they never had. They walked from Harare to Highfield grounds. When others were leaving, others were going in, white, black, Indian got together. The army was the people's army. The war veterans were the war veterans of the people. Everybody knew in marching, the next person in was Mnangagwa. That's why I then doubt people who say, no, where did Mnangagwa come from? But when you were marching, who was going to come in after Bob? It was Mnangagwa. So everybody knew, and this is where I have a problem with our people. They become inconsistent, and they end up playing the social media show, which really is not what politics is about. Politics is about being on the ground and implementing. And Zimbabweans now can no longer give an excuse that we're scared to do things. So when you went to march 17th November, were you not scared? Were people not killed before that with the allegations that they were killed? So why on that day did you decide, I'm prepared to die, and yet you didn't die, no one was ever killed?
But then citizens at that time genuinely believed that we were marching for a worthy cause, or some citizens, or most citizens, whatever. And yet from that time, from November 2017 to this date in September 2019, things have drastically changed. Can we really say that something that we were hopeful for that has gone wrong is our fault? Like, we wanted things to work out. Things are not working out. So how is it the citizens not being...
You see, to me, I like that debate and the way you're tackling it, in that before 17th November 2017, people would complain, but they would not do things together. And you cannot do much the same way that I speak. And Victor Hugo has got a great saying which says, there's nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come. Okay? There's nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come. The question is, had the time come and was the idea there? When the two are combined, it's deadly. That's what happened. So with what is happening right now, he's in for 5 years. And there are people saying, we voted him in for 5 years, we'll judge after 5 years. You've also got that mindset. And there are people say, but we did not vote him in, and that's why we didn't vote, we want him out. But politics then defines itself by saying the majority who have their way, the minority who have their say.
So let's talk political strategy then. What do you think, in your opinion, is the strategy that this government is currently putting across for us? If you look at it in isolation of, let's say, communication, you've got your ministry that communicates differently from the government spokesperson, who communicates differently from the president's spokesperson. Just in that small segment, we can already see things that are not linear. If you look at the way people are appointed, sometimes people are appointed through a message where they find out, oh my gosh, I've got this position. They're not qualified, they didn't actually ask to be in that position, they didn't have to demonstrate that they were good at that position, but they now find themselves in those positions to influence decisions that affect our lives. So for you, please let us know, political strategy of this current administration. What do you think it is and where do you rank it?
To me, it's hypocritical. 1 minute you're saying, ahead of my appointment in the newspaper. So why did you take it? If you're a person of integrity, moral being, principled values, why would you take an appointment from the newspaper, from the media? So shut up, don't talk about it. You already have the job, you're enjoying the benefits of taxpayers' money. Best you shut up. Okay, let's be very clear. We don't want hypocrites. Okay, that I'm done with. Because if you surely believed before your appointment you're supposed to see your principal and that did not happen, then turn it down. So no. Thank you very much, but I'm not prepared to take this position. Because if it's a sinking ship, you are also going to sink with it. Your reputation is gone. Are you with me? So why take such a risk? The next aspect that you must understand, you've also got, and this is where people for the first time must understand where I come from. I will never attack a sitting president who's been elected by people, who's equally gone to court and the court have said he's a president. My politics is not about popularization, it's practical. Even if you follow my events with the former president, Mugabe, I never used to attack him as much because I did not think that it was proper to attack a sitting president who's been elected by people. But I attacked the system. If I'm attacking the system, it was attacking him, that's different. I must separate the person of the president and the office of the president. Because the office of the president will always be there. Because tomorrow, Kuda, it's you who occupy that office, for example. It's me or somebody else. Will it have the integrity and dignity that we expect of it? That's why even when I fight for members of parliament, it's not the people I fight for, it is the office, which remains, and in it being effective, it must be seen to be respected. So others who attack the president is Emmerson Mnangagwa. And then there is Emmerson Mnangagwa as the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe and Commander-in-Chief. If you were at the National Sports Stadium on Saturday to bid farewell to the former president, there was a 21-gun salute. There were service men and women in the stadium. And if that did not remind you who is controlling the country when a 21-gun salute is done, it's not commanded by anybody. It's commanded by the commander-in-chief of the country. So at that point, if you don't realize he is the power, then it's at your own peril at the end of the day. I recognize that. So I respect the office because I realize that for us to move forward as a country, the office of the president too, because it has policies, it has promised the people, they must be interrogated. President, you said you'd give jobs, where are they? President, you know your ministers are corrupt, what are you doing about it? President, you've said, okay, you did not know these people, now you know them, so what are you going to do about it when? What I cannot get from the president is a time frame or to get him to act as and when he feels he should. But at the same time, I will not stop. Some people have said I attack the president. But as I don't attack the president, I bring about the policies that he promised the people. There was a 100-day policy which was there. What happened to it? Not much happened. We came from Zim Asset. Okay. Did we ever review Zim Asset? No. Did we review the 10-day plan? No. The 10-point plan? No. Did we review? We've now come with TSP, Transitional Stabilization Program. Now we've got power cuts.
18 hours.
Okay, 18 hours. So the production that you're talking about, which is supposed to create the middle class economy of 2030, how will you achieve? Is it not time to review? So when I ask that, I'm not attacking. I'm saying, but hold on. Things have deteriorated, but you still talk about the 2030. This is when you see some of our ministers, okay, as don't know what they're talking about, because if you're an athlete and you get an injury today and you're off for 3 months, your fitness levels cannot be the same. So what are we doing to now adjust that and to say to the people, but no, we thought 2030 would be there, but because of the power shortages, because of the drought, because of cyclone, he died. Okay. And you're telling the truth to the nation. It has made us go back 3-4 years. So that vision is no longer there. We now expect it 2027.
I don't think anyone can argue that if we had more transparency from our leadership, we would be at least somewhat appeased with the situation that's happening. Why is there no transparency? Why is it so hard to just say, because of this, we're being moved back?
The president, it's the president's prerogative to choose a team. But it's also our right to say, but President, your team seems to be the same team from the former late president. When are we going to see your team? He's a strategist. He's the most patient man. Okay, he's waited 37 years to be president. He's been insulted when people thought he was finished, but he came back. So you also have got to understand that you have a president who is extremely patient. You saw the befitting send-off he's given the former president, yet he was nearly killed by the same regime. It's as if nothing happened. So there are certain attributes in him which makes you think, oh, maybe he's got the ace card, we're waiting for it. And we're all impatiently waiting for it. But we don't know when he's going to play it and so forth. In his interview, he tells you, yes, these ministers, I'm just starting to know them now. Okay? While they've been, okay? So in knowing them, who is competent, who's not incompetent. Can I share something with you? You saw people heckling Cyril Ramaphosa. There's something that I said. The public, they're not diplomats. Understand this? They're not diplomats. Okay? Diplomats don't heckle, but it's not everybody who's a diplomat. That's the public. And Comrade Ramaphosa, who's president of South Africa, takes it well. He says, when I went there, I was booed because of what we're doing. But I've now looked at the other end and said, but what are our people doing in South Africa when we should be sorting out our country here? Should we always cry to South Africa? Should South Africa, if we are so obsessed about South Africa and we think we cannot do without South Africa, why don't we become a province of South Africa? We talk about the rand, our sovereignty. Where is it? So are you understand what I'm saying? Zimbabweans must be very clear. If we're going to fix our country, you are here right now. We are here right now. It's because we believe that this is our country. We're not going to go anywhere. Whatever comes our way, we'll confront it, we'll deal with it.
But we've been doing that for years. People are tired. You know, you were speaking about the legacy of our former president. When I was a very young person, he mentioned a statement where at the height of a fuel crisis, he said, I dare you to lie in the streets of Samora Machel and not get hit by a car. That is a statement that goes to show that sometimes people are already putting the work together to try and put the pieces that the government is failing to do so. We are doing so. We are tired of doing so. When are we going to be in a position where we now feel that our leadership is working in favor of us? Because this is why I'm saying there's a disconnect. Because we feel as citizens that sometimes the government is not always acting in the best interest.
But you equally have disconnected yourself from the leadership, from the politics. It's only now, okay? Now that I'm talking to you like this, I see a future. 3 years ago, I didn't see it. But I see a young man who's able to interview me and talk to me about real issues. I see a situation which I never thought I'd be interviewed because it's controversial what will happen to us. But today, freely, we are doing this. That's a step in the right direction. May our generation, your generation, start leading now, not tomorrow. There's something about a generational consensus which I talk about, which I say every generation has got the right to dictate its future. But we have been crying for so long because we have surrendered our generation to a certain generation which does not complement what we want to do. Let's understand that, because you know, we don't want to mince words. We don't want to be Zimbabweans to be crybabies. I stood as a member of parliament, okay? Because I sat down with my friends, I said, guys, I see that, you know, you need to see this old man, you need to take whiskey to the offices. Can I be the person you see without bringing whiskey, because we've grown up together? We went to school together and say, Temba, I want this business. It looks good, it's good for the country, let's do it. I'm not into politics to look for money, no. I spend money in thinking politics. I've survived despite being expelled from ZANU-PF. It's not many politicians who are expelled, okay, who survive economically. I've done better, I've been there. You've never heard of me not being able to eat. You've never heard of me not being able to do the things what I've done. You've never heard of me not going on holiday. I still go to beaches and run so that I come back revitalized. So my life has continued because I've believed for me to also be able to call myself worthy, I must also play a part. So the question that we have for all Zimbabweans, what role, what part are you playing? You are doing something which has never been done before. I am doing something. So how then do we complement each other? This business of saying politics is dirty is for politicians. When the economics starts to hit you, you start blaming the politicians. But who has stopped economists from being politicians? Who has stopped economists from being politicians? They are smart, they want to be clean. But yet, when it comes to the economy quagmire of a country, of their company, they're the first to cry. Why don't you be the first to be in office and dictate the economics of the country politically?
I don't mean to be a stickler for words, but did you not just describe a system of nepotism? I know you didn't mean it directly, but you were saying, I want you to come to me without whiskey. I want you to come to me with the business because we grew up together, we went to school together. Is that not part of the issue that we have in our political system right now, that we are still trying to bring people around us as leaders who we know, who we went to school with, instead of actually trying to go out and look for new faces, faces that are competent, faces that haven't been tested before, like the faces you're saying, the economists and so on and so forth?
In your generation, don't you have economics? Yes. Let's separate networking and nepotism. Networking and nepotism. When you network, you're a generation. You have one who's in the media. You have one who's an economist. You have one who's a lawyer. You have one who's a businessman. So when you yourself want a lawyer, you go to a friend. It's network. You work with who you're comfortable with. You know, it reminds me of when I asked for $150 million from Billy Rottenberg because it was my commission of a project which was $2 billion. The Ethno in Chisumbanje, the Total, and the Wanki. I facilitated for that. And my commission was supposed to be 200 million, it was 150 million. And people saying I'm being corrupt. So my question is that, but I have no public office. I was not an MP. Are you with me, Kuda? But you say I'm being corrupt. So what office? But because I've gone and facilitated for a transaction, is that being corrupt? But when a black man says my facilitation fee is 150 million, other blacks don't believe he must get that. That's where the problem is. You see, it went on, oh, Mliswa is corrupt, but I still ask, what office did I have? I was a group CEO of Salt Lakes Holdings, a private company. An advisor and consultancy is what I do. Okay, if I'm catching a big bream and I've gone to a big dam, and you are catching carpenter, why are you blaming me? You've gone to a lake that is carpenter. Okay, I choose not to go and waste my time on carpenter. I want the big bream. So I choose who I consult with. It's like you going for medical attention. You can choose to go to Paranyatwa, to Norton Hospital, to Chegutu, or you can go and be treated in South Africa, or go to private surgeon here, go to trauma center in Borodea. It's your choice.
But is that a choice that everyone can make?
But to me, you've got to understand that we must have choices. It's like the monopoly of fuel in this country. Why have people in this country been forced to buy blended fuel here, ethanol? Why can't they also be given a choice to buy one that's not blended?
But they're not empowered. I can't start.
But this is what we must be fighting for. Because what we must be saying, you know, my daughter went to Peterhouse, and she went to Peterhouse at the time. I was told it was racist, everything. I knew I had an option of either finding a black school, which was just as elite. So when I said, but I am not seeing any black elite school with the standards of Peterhouse or better. I'm being honest with you. And then I started talking to my friends that, when are we going to see black schools which are for the black elite? With higher standards than the Peterhouse, the St. George's, the Falcons. Because the majority of these people in this country are black. The wealthy is in the hands of the black. Unless the wealth is not in our hands. Build your own school. Who stops you from building a black elite institution for black people with better results? Other people are doing it right now. You see all these schools that you're reading about in Masvingo. There is this one, what you call it, where one of the guys landed with a helicopter there, and so forth. Instead of you hating the guy landing with the helicopter, if you bought it in a proper way, what's wrong with that? But the noise is he landed with the helicopter. The issue did he get it legitimately? If he did, is he not allowed? The whites had airstrips and aerodromes in their farms. We never said anything. Today, when it's Kuda Mangwe, who we say he has captured the state, as black people, we fight him. But how many whites are rich and Indians in this country? We don't talk about. So the notion of doing ourselves down is there. The confidence of us wanting to be rich, okay, we believe must come from a white man. The Americans have got a great saying, which says, blacks are obsessed with the networking with white people rather than making themselves power brokers. I'll repeat, blacks are obsessed with the networking with whites rather than making themselves power brokers. So if you are seen to have a white friend, yeah, you're doing well. But instead of you being the broker. So there is that aspect again, which I think as Zimbabweans, as educators we are, at times we tend to contradict ourselves. What's the point of education if you're not empowered?
Fair point. We're running out of time now, but I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. And the one question that I always ask people in conclusion, and I've had a very number of answers for this, what is the future for Zimbabwe? I'm a young person, right? 29 years old. I believe in my country. I want to be in this country. But a lot of the times I don't see a future for myself. Give me a reason to believe in this country. Why should I stay in this country? Why should I continue to invest?
The liberation struggle of this country, which has made you and I enjoy this space. The young women and men that went to the struggle sacrificed. Some did not come back because they believed this is our country, we must sacrifice. The Mnangagwa's, late Mugabe's, late Joshua Nkome's Tongoga of this world. In fact, you and I are older. They were even 18, 19. But they brought about change at 18, 19. Okay. We are actually over that. My clarion call is to this next generation of 15 years, 14 right now, to start dictating their future come 2023 and assume the offices and the corridors of power and not be told you're too young. Because if you look at when these freedom fighters liberated this country, you and I are old. I'm being honest with you. But they sacrificed. They believed in what they were doing. Selflessly, okay, we are here because of them. The question that I leave for you and me and the rest and the viewers out there is, what are you doing yourself to make the change that you want? And what role are you playing? It's a relay. Are you the starter? Are you the second? Are you the third? Are you the finish? Take a position. Step out and take a position. Step out from where you are. Step out of that zone and take a position, and let's go.
Is this why you started YARD?
It is Youth Advocacy for Reform and Democracy, a think tank for young people. We think headhunt, we believe in brilliance, and we take advantage of the intellectual capacity of young people. It's either you're a political scientist, it's either you're a lawyer, okay, an accountant. We headhunt. It's a special unit of young men who we call commanders. Because when we call you a commander, by right, command the people under you.
Mr. Mliswa, it's always a pleasure. Very inspiring, very fiery as always.
No, it's been a pleasure.
We hope we can talk again sometime soon.
You keep up the good work. That gets us going.
No worries. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.